and he's going to house it.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another Angle of Pursuit podcast, your fantasy football, sports betting, and NASCAR home. It's another week of the NASCAR playoffs. Joining me to break down the South Point 400, it's Brian Twining. What's up, Brian?
What's up, Kyle? Yeah, I'm excited to get into this next round of the playoffs here. I mean, what an interesting race we saw last week. We saw an old fogey and a youngster almost go at it on the track afterwards. Friendly fire from my DraftKings core between Elliott and Kevin Harvick. Like, how the hell did they not know that I was in the money?
Those jerks, you should have been radioing into their cars. So we're down to 12. Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Chase Elliott, Martin Truex, Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, William Byron snuck through there. Kevin Harvick, Brad Keselowski, Alex Bowman, and Christopher Bell are your final 12. Updated odds: Larson is 2-1, Hamlin is 550, Chase Elliott is 7, Truex is 750, Kyle Busch at 8, Logano at 12, Blaney at 14, William Byron at 15, Harvick at 18, Keselowski at 20, Bowman at 20, Christopher Bell at 25. Any numbers jumping off the page to you?
Well, I mentioned Elliott a few races ago as somebody that I like to come up at the top, and then still Denny Hamlin for me is got to be like
really wishing I bet Denny Hamlin when we talked about it right before the playoffs. I think he was double digits, and now he's plus 550. So
yeah, I think he was 10-1 or
10 or 12. Yeah, I think so. I will say, little precursor to what we're going to talk about today, but Ryan Blaney at 14 is compelling to me.
Yeah, especially he's sitting in fourth right now in the playoff standings, which means all he has to do is just not F up, and he's almost guaranteed himself a spot into the round of 8.
Yeah.
And then if he maintains that top 4 position, I mean, he's right there to get into the final race for a chance at the championship.
I know. I might have to take a shot there. So let's look at the betting board, and we'll figure out where there's value. And like I said, I like Ryan Blaney. He's 14-1 to win this race. He's 14-1 to win the playoff. I think I will be making bets on both of those.
Yeah, I just can't do it anymore. Like, I'm almost speechless about this. I hate doing it, but how do you not bet Kyle Larson?
Yeah.
I just don't see. I mean, who has brought that much value to being the Uber favorite as much as what Kyle Larson does? Every single week, this guy's the fastest car on the track. Yeah. And they're not showing any signs of coasting into the next round of the playoffs.
No. And I actually think I like the plus 330 better than the plus 200 to 1. I mean, it's easy to say for someone holding a championship ticket. I think 12-1 I have it at. So obviously at 2-1 you don't like it quite as much. But I feel like there's a better chance of him winning this race. And plus 330 is a short number, but a number I could definitely get on board with, and one I like. Beyond there, is there anybody in terms of outrights that are interesting to you?
Well, I mean, it still, like, Kevin Harvick is a guy who he's ran really well once these playoffs have started. I mean, last week he was right there for the win. I think this is another track where he's shown a tremendous amount of success at, and because he's kind of picking it up at this back part of the season, I think he's a guy at double digits who I might be getting on this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, he's dominant at intermediate tracks. He's dominant at bank tracks. He's dominant at Vegas. There's a lot to like. That is a good number. And we've talked about Harvick as kind of that guy who's really good for a top 5. Beyond there, it's kind of hard to get on board with.
No.
But I feel like he may be figuring a little bit out and actually kind of have a legit chance at winning this race.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, is because you're looking when you're looking at the standings in particular, like Harvick is the guy who snuck in as the last guy into the playoffs according to playoff points. So he needs to be running up near the top 5, potentially even get that first win this season. And as a good of a driver as he is, I talked about this multiple times with Hamlin before it finally happened for him. And then the reason why I was on Elliott last week is these guys are so good. You expect them to eventually get into the winner's circle. So betting them consistently until they hit, I think you're probably going to be more profitable than if not.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, imagine if we just bet Kyle Larson all season long and not even thought about it.
Dude, I know.
Come on the podcast, bet Kyle Larson, turn off the podcast.
Yep.
Beyond outrights, if we're looking at top threes, top fives, top tens, anyone that you like as a potential value play, for placement points?
Well, I was looking at this a little bit yesterday. I think Kurt Busch is really interesting at just over even money to top 10 here. I mean, he broke the seal for the Vegas brothers and the Busch guys, and he won here last year. I think that he has a good chance of performing really well this week as well. I mean, he got knocked out of the playoffs last week, but being this last season there, I think that he's trying to perform really well to start off fresh, under good circumstances with 23-11 next year. So I like that number. And then when you look at the top 20 market, I find it really interesting that Eric Jones is even money once again, and he's performed extremely well at these kind of tracks lately. So I can get on that again. I know this is going to be a big mistake, but backing him 2 weeks in a row, but at plus money here, I think that's a great number to finish in the top 20.
Yeah, it's really gross, and we keep doing this to ourselves, but it's a number for a reason. He's 7-1 to top 10 this week after being 6-1 last week,
and he hit. So
yeah, and right below him, Ryan Newman 8-1. Don't hate that. I'm looking at top 10 numbers, obviously. If we want to get a little less spicy, Ryan Newman plus 150 to top 20. I love that. There's some opportunity, I think. To find some value. I was looking at top 5 markets. I mean, we talked about Harvick, we talked about Blaney. Blaney did 2-1 to top 5. He's done it 4 of the last 7 trips to this track. Harvick's plus 140. I feel like both those are good numbers. Getting plus money, almost 2-1 on basically 2-1 on Blaney. I feel like there's a lot of value there.
Yeah, and then there's one more guy I did want to hit on. You'll see him in when we talk DraftKings, but that's Chris Buescher. When you look at his top 20 number, he is minus 165 to finish in the top 20. And this goes back to what we talked about Eric Jones last week. He's 4-1 to finish top 10. So they're expecting him to finish in those teens. Now, I'm going to bet that number 4-1 well before I go and lay, almost 1.5 to 2-1 in order to win to get in the top 20. So I think the expectation for Buescher is kind of 12, 13 is like it's high what they're expecting, but I think he can get inside the top 10, and at 4-1 odds, yeah, give me that.
Yeah, I think if you take him, you take Eric Jones, you hit one of those, you're feeling great. You hit both of them, you're going on vacation, you're loving life. So I think both those numbers make a ton of sense. Let's shift over and talk a little DFS, because I think there's a lot to get into. As we talked about last week, our boy BJ McLeod, who had the amazing streak of always finishing the races. I said, Brian, we're finally on board. It's going to happen. He's not going to finish. And what happened, Brian?
He did finish.
He did not finish. So that was
we rode it as long as possible.
Ryan Blaney will be my dominator this week. I'm a big fan of his potential. I think he could make a ton of sense. And if you want to save a little bit of cash at the top, he's a great way to start. I also like Matt Vendetto. I think there is opportunity this week. I know he isn't a part of the playoffs, but he's also kind of, trying to figure out what's going to happen next season, figuring all that stuff out. Started 30th and finished 16th last time, started 19th and finished second that time before. Started 19th and finished second the time before that. This is a guy who does well at this style of track, does this well at Vegas specifically. And at 8,200 it is incredibly interesting. Now, I will say I was looking between him and our boy Eric Jones. Matt D is starting 2 spots in front of Eric Jones and is, $1,700 more expensive, but I feel like people will look at Eric Jones, say, well, I'm getting better spot and I'm getting
the salary savings,
huge salary savings. So I'll go there. And I think D could be an interesting way to pivot. I also don't hate playing both of them. I'm going to punish myself again and do the Ryan Newman experience, 7,600. Dude is just he makes up ground. He's probably not going to top 10 and maybe not even top 20, but if he starts 29th, finishes 21st, I think I'll be happy with his performance at 7,500. And the Chris Buescher man, 7,300, it might be the best value. I'm a little worried that everyone's going to be on him and that's when things go poorly, but I will make him part of my core because I think there's too much to be excited about there.
Yeah, we'll get more into Chris Buescher. Ryan Newman was a guy who I almost put into my core. I think that where he's starting, and looking at what his salary is, I think he, like you said, he has the possibility for about 8 to 10 movement points easy in this race. I just worry about his tendency to not avoid contact.
Yeah.
So I think that's where you have to watch out with a guy like him. But he is like the poor man's Kevin Harvick in the terms of he's consistently running upward near the top of the back half of the field. So, I mean, you know what you're getting with him. So he's kind of a safe driver as long as he doesn't crash out of the race.
Yeah. And, drivers like Newman, drivers like Chris Buescher, even Eric Jones, who almost made my core, they allow you to do a lot up top. It is an interesting week because a lot of the big names that are priced up are all starting near the front. So you really have to make your decisions and kind of go with that. Larson is incredibly compelling. Logano is incredibly compelling. I guess we'll just throw up your DFS core and you can break it down for everybody in terms of what you're looking at this week.
Yeah, I'm sick of missing out on all the Kyle Larson points. So I'm paying up. I'm going with the most expensive guy on the board here. Give me the laps led, the fastest laps, the top 5 finishing position. Even if he doesn't win the race, I just think 50 plus points is almost guaranteed, and I'm willing to bank on him finishing top 3 at that price. Kurt Busch, I already talked about it. He won here last year. He's coming to the end of his tenure here and moving over to 2311 next year. So I think that this is going to be a race where he does really well. And then when you look at the last 3 races at these kind of speedways, he's finished in the top 10. He even won back in Atlanta this year. So I think he's running, he's trending in the right direction at these style of tracks. Ross Chastain hasn't been good here, but when looking at guys in this kind of price range and where he's beginning at the 18th spot, he's shown the flashes of brilliance that he can have a boom week where he could be one of the fastest cars on the track and really pay off for that 7,900, get inside that top 10 for all his movement points. And then the aforementioned Chris Buescher, the guy who we finally learned how to say his name correctly. The last 3 races here, worst finish is 14th. He's never finished worse than 18th since his rookie season. He's finished top 20 in 8 of the 9 and top 10 in 5 of the 9 tracks, very similar to this season. So I think Buescher is a guy who will probably be owned a ton, but out of the guys starting, sub 20s, has the best chance of finishing inside the top 10. And at 7,300, how could you go wrong there?
Yeah, I love the Larson call and almost went to him a couple of times myself. And when I make multiple lineups, he will probably be prominently featured in at least 1 or 2. But yeah, I think that's a good call. I think there is a very good shot that he starts the race in the front, dominates the race, leads a bunch of laps, and is just, even if he gets past at the very end, has a legit chance to win the race. So he's a little pricey, but I think he's worth every penny.
Yeah, I didn't even mention like a couple of the most telling statistics here. So this year he's won a total of 6 races, with 3 of them being at tracks just like Vegas, including a victory at Vegas. Of the 9 races at these kinds of tracks, according to driver averages, he's got 7 top 5s this year.
Yeah, he's having the season you want to see.
Like how do you bet against this guy anymore? It's just I'm done not wanting to win money. So
Anybody you're avoiding, or you're just not sure what to do with anyone that you were like? Austin Dillon was somebody that I was looking at. 8,100 starting 15th is incredibly compelling. I think makes a lot of sense, but is there's some like Byron Keselowski.
Yeah,
I don't know what to do with those guys.
I was just gonna say, so Willie B, he was a guy like I love William Byron, but I mean he's starting third. Yes, that's fantastic, and the price is right at 8,900, but he struggles at Vegas. I mean, when you look at the last few races, last week was the first time he finished inside the top 19 over the last 4. He's been kind of all over the place. He's only had 3 top 10s in the last, I think, like 10 races to 12 races. So he's really struggled of late. So it's really hard for me to get in on him in DraftKings. Now, top 10 market, if the price is right, I think that's a good number for a Hendrick driver, but him, and then even Chase Elliott, like I'm a little worried because his lack of success at Vegas is something that I worry about. And I think a lot of people are going to have him starting 11th. He's one of the most recognizable names in the circuit. And I think he's going to be very popular where he started. He's going to be that guy that we're looking for each week, that, he's starting far back in the field and he's got the ability to move up a ton. But I just don't see the historical data to tell me that this is a track where he's going to move that much near the top for that price.
I like that call. Okay. We talked a little bit betting. We talked a little DFS. I think it's time for our best bet for the South Point 400. You want to take the T here?
I'm not going to play it safe this week. I'm feeling good after Dan Arnold hit his yards total last night.
Brian,
I got that by a half.
These never work out for you.
And I'm going Chris Buescher, top 10, 4-1, baby. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely love to see it. I will say Kurt Busch is plus money to top 10, which I'm a big fan of.
The number's not big enough, though.
No.
I will bet it, but it's just not big enough.
Yeah. My best bet is Ryan Blaney, top 5, 2-1.
Oh, I love that. What a great number for a guy already starting inside the top 5.
Yeah, you'll love to see it. I think he can absolutely win the race, and getting a double your money for a top 5, I think is worth every investment.
Yes, sir. But yes, I think Chris Buescher, this is the week where he gets back onto the map, and we have come full circle and fully solidified the fact that his name is not Boucher.
It took us almost the whole season, but we got there. We figured it out. So enjoy the race. Make sure you check out our NFL content if you like NFL betting, NFL player props.
Apparently, Mac doesn't.
I'm Kyle Robert. Good luck this week. We'll
Yes,
talk to y'all
good luck.
next time.